Hello and welcome to my bedroom. We are here because I am miserable and this is my safe place. Keela, I need you to stop rubbing the microphone cables with your cute little face. Come here. Thank you. I am sick and having a bad time. And I'm having an even worse time because of the book that I have read. Over here, I talk about things sometimes. I also like to talk about things on Twitch. I'm currently in the process of writing a video essay on a book that I really liked. So if you're interested in that, click like and subscribe or whatever, or don't. And maybe the algorithm will just bring me back to you. Today, we are going to talk about How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. Now, the title of the book did not excite me. Alright, that sounds like it could be boring, but there's this lady that works at my local Indigo who has her recommended sticker on a bunch of books that I really like. So we clearly have similar taste. And she had her sticker on this book. And I'm just going to say that, Jenny, you were wrong. This is not a good book. And this, in fact, makes me not want to read any more of his books. Not that I was going to anyway. I was not that interested in the IKEA book. And I feel like if you look at his collection of books, they seem to be very, tongue-in-cheek with, the horror genre. And so my thought process was, oh, is this going to be about breaking tropes? Doing something different? No, it wasn't. It wasn't that. And I went, oh, haunted house. Haunted houses are about family trauma and family secrets. And this book really tries to be about that. But I don't think it did it. So this is going to be a rant review. A sick, low energy rant review where I complain about things. God, I read the reviews on the back of this book and I'm mad. Okay. So the character whose eyes we look through is Louise. Louise's parents just died at the same time in a car crash. Actually, her dad died before, in the impact of the car crash, and their mom died later. That is, an important plot point. She doesn't live nearby. She lives, on the other side of the country, almost. And her brother, she hates her brother. And I was reading the start of this book, and I'm like, listen, I know you don't like Mark, but you need to calm down. This is insane. And I realized that she must be hiding something. And she was. She has a daughter named Poppy, and they have an aunt named Gail, whose mom is called Aunt Honey. And then Gail gave birth to Constance and Mercy. And they're just like, your family is weird. And then they go to try to sell the house, and they go, oh no, it's haunted. Ooh. Also, their mom made puppets and collected dolls. And the second that I read that this was about to become a haunted doll book, I almost put it down, because I went, haunted dolls are okay, when I watch a movie and there's a haunted doll in it, I see that as a shortcut to having mediocre visual effects. You don't have to make it look realistic if it's a doll, you know? So to see it in a book, I went, no. Don't do this to me. I can't read this. But then I forced myself to do it, and I wish I didn't. There's I put 5 tabs in, and they're all within the first, section of the book. If you want a spoiler-free review, I'm going to give you my sentence summary and my star rating right now. This book is like reading a C-tier Blumhouse movie. 1 out of 5. I did not like it. If you don't want to be spoiled, you can leave. Bye. I heard a lot of hype about this book. People were praising the fuck out of it. I don't know what it is about me that I couldn't enjoy it, but like it was so grating to read. Can you not meow like that? Oh, she's gonna throw up. Sorry, I had to... My cat has a sensitive tummy. Okay. Let's start with the character. So the only character that I kind of liked was Mark, because even though he's like kind of a shithead, reasoning for it is valid. We find out that he unlocked repressed memories as a teenager of his sister attempting to kill him in the backyard of their friend's house by letting him drown in a frozen pond. And then afterwards he just started freaking out, and I went, yeah, that's valid. Yeah, he's also the only person I feel who looks at everything and goes, this is f***ed up, in like a rational way. Louise, on the other hand, is a raging bitch, and I hate her so much. And I think reading from a perspective that's like focused around her, I was so sick of it. Like, my favorite part of the book was when Mark was in control of the narrative. I was like, thank you, please. This is what I needed. Now, his section did start with 9/11 really broke me out of my funk, and I went, you can't just drop that on me. That's insane. And I laughed really hard for a little bit too long. Sorry, I looked down and I read the plot summary on the back of this book, and it lies. Hold on, we need to talk about this. When Louise finds out that her parents have died, she dreads going home. This is true. She doesn't want to leave her daughter with her ex and fly to Charleston. This is true. She doesn't want to deal with her family home. This is true. Stuffed to the rafters with remnants of her dad's academic career and her mother's lifelong obsession with puppets and dolls. Yes. She doesn't want to learn how to live without the two people who knew and loved her the best in the world. Half of the book is her complaining about how her mom fucking hated her. And realistically, her mom was kind of a bitch to her forever. She did not love her the best in the world. That's insane. And then we go, most of all, she doesn't want to deal with her brother Mark, who never left their hometown. This is true. Gets fired from one job after another. Unclear. It seems like he starts a lot of ventures and then panics and like drops them. But he also says that he's been a bartender for a while, so he's not constantly getting fired. And resents her success? No, he doesn't. He resents that she left. But some houses don't want to be sold. It's not the house. Fuck. Holy shit. Okay, we need to talk about Pupkin now, I guess. I really don't want to talk about Pupkin. Pupkin is Louise's mom's doll. Her name is Nancy. She's had Pumpkin since she was 7 years old. And the little fucker's evil. He's the root of all the problems. I don't even have it in me to process this. I'm so mad. No, we're not gonna fucking talk about Pupkin yet. Because we need to talk about Louise's mom's, her name is Nancy's familial trauma. Because this is what the book should have been about. It should have focused on generational trauma. When Nancy was 7 years old, her little brother Freddie died. He stepped on a nail, got lockjaw, and died. Okay, this is the story that has been told. Alright? He was 5, she was 7. Why am I telling you this? Because the book thinks that it has a twist, and it's the most obvious thing I've ever seen with my own 2 eyes since watching Us. Look, I am not opposed to a twist. I love a twist when it's good. And the way that a twist is good is you make me forget that I'm looking for something like that. You don't leave me to linger and think about things or question things, and you don't bring focus to this same event twice. 2 times they brought up the story early in the book about Freddie and Nancy being 7 years old. And then literally like 2 chapters later, Louise is talking about Pupkin, and she goes, oh yeah, Nancy got Pupkin, like just after Freddie died. Now, the book thinks that it has hidden this so well that they don't tell us that Pupkin is Freddie until page 356. Okay, they end a chapter on it because they think it's that good. I guessed, and I have proof of this, that Pupkin was Freddie on page 62. Why? Because they brought up Freddie twice within the first 60 pages. And made special note of Nancy being 7 years old when it happened, and she got Pupkin at the age of 7. And I went, that's the same age. Freddie is Pupkin. Now, what is Pupkin? Pupkin is this fucked up little clown doll, little clown puppet, who I guess is haunted by Freddie, who didn't die from stepping on a nail, actually. That was a lie that they used to make Nancy feel better. She let him drown in a pool because she went to go count ice cream when she was 7 because her parents left her to watch her 5-year-old brother in a pool when she was 7. I know it was the 60s, but like, think for 2 seconds. And then their solution is just to lie about it. So then they shipped her around and like gave her trauma. And like, that should be the focus of this book, is Nancy's trauma. And like, if you think about Pupkin being the soul of like a 5-year-old child, who they put him to rest at the end of the book by finding his body that was buried in the backyard in a suitcase, and giving him like they found his bones and gave him like a proper funeral or whatever. Which, how they found the bones, I will get to, because I'm mad about that too. But the things that Pupkin doesn't make sense. Okay? From like, if I'm thinking about it as it being a 5-year-old, it's like oh my god, okay. So when Louise was 5, her baby brother Mark had just been born. Or like, he was like a year and a half, he could walk. And Pupkin kept trying to like make her hurt Mark, because he didn't like the baby. She ended up almost letting him drown in the backyard. In their friend's backyard, I mentioned this earlier. But it was Pupkin's fault. Pupkin told her to do that. But why? Well, it's because Nancy was giving more attention to Mark. So did Nancy not give more attention to Louise when Louise was a baby? Why didn't Pupkin try to hurt Louise? Why was Nancy so willing to let her child hang out with a puppet that had the soul of her dead brother in it? And then, so Mark goes to college, right? But he goes to like Boston University, joins a like anti-establishment puppet group, crew, like a theater troupe, which is as stupid as it sounds. And, oh my god, and that section, so that was my favorite section, but I did have to read the phrase, a puppet is a possession that possesses its possessor, too many times in those 2 chapters. That's not deep, but also that concept of like, well, puppets have like their own soul, blah 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 blah. Stupid. And unrelated to the plot. Why did I have to read all that? Because Pupkin doesn't have his own soul. He's Freddie. So then Mark is like, okay, I'll like text my mom, and his mom mails him Pupkin, which like, insane. And then the troop leader, I think it was Clark, puts Pupkin on, and then he never takes Pupkin off. Pupkin, like, takes over Clark's mind or whatever, and then they, like, make Pupkin masks, and when they wear the Pupkin masks, they are Pupkin, and they live in the Tickety Woods with Pupkin. And they, like, literally attack a woman in her house, and they, like, fuck it up, and they maybe kill her son. Why would Pupkin want to... How does that meet his goal? Okay, he says that he's here to have fun and dance and play. And, like, maybe that's fun for him. But his other thing is that he wants to be with Nancy. So how is this helping him go back to... You're just terrorizing people. And the twist that it's Freddy inside makes that entire thing pointless. Because how the fuck does that make any... Okay. Okay. We're gonna talk about how they find Freddy's fucking body. No, we're not. We're gonna talk about Spider first. Spider was a good boy. So one of the times where they go to the house and they're like, we're gonna fucking fight this little fucking puppet. Pupkin brings out Spider, which is an imaginary dog that Mark came up with when he was a child, and it's blue and named Spider and has 6 legs, and it attacks them. And in order to stop Spider from eating Louise, Mark puts on Pupkin, and then he almost, like, smashes her head in with a hammer, but then Louise saws his arm off. And then they go to the hospital because he's going to die. And she returns and burns him and then is like, oh, the house is quiet now. Which was already dumb as fuck. So then she goes home and Poppy, her daughter, made a Pupkin. And it has Freddy's soul in it still. I don't know how this ghost works. Because this is not how any ghost I have ever read about works. And then they, like, try to do a seance and they find out that... Or they try to do like an exorcism and they find out it's not a demon, that's a ghost, that's Freddy. Then they go to the house because they're gonna find the body, and then Pupkin somehow makes all the dolls and puppets come to life, despite the fact that, like, there were implications that these, like, 2 porcelain child-sized dolls that Nancy used to call her Little Mark and Little Louise were, like, haunted by their parents, but there was no proof of this up to this point. It seemed like just Pupkin was manipulating them to, like, scare them. And then there's, like, the fucking taxidermied squirrels. I don't even want to talk about that because all I could picture was, like, the worst movie I could ever watch. So then all of the puppets come to life and they fucking combine into a giant puppet conglomerate. Like, they call it the puppet golem, and it's fighting, and then all of a sudden Mark whistles and Spider is on their side, even though the day before he wasn't on their side. He was actively trying to eat them, and I don't know how they convinced Spider to change sides, but whatever. So when they're inside, before they see the giant puppet golem, Mark goes, oh my god, I've been Pupkin. I've been to the Tickety Woods because I wore the mask, and I saw what they looked like. And the TikTok tree is a cypress tree, and I think it was the elephant bone graveyard, like they're fucking in Lion King or whatever, is the bamboo that we have in the backyard. And at the beginning of every story, Pupkin wakes up under the TikTok tree, so that must be our giant cypress in the backyard. That must be where Freddy's body is. And so Louise ends up going outside and she has a shovel and she's like, okay. And then she just goes, if I was my grandmother, who she'd never met because she died before she was born, and I was walking out with my son's body, it would go there. And she's right. Like, please, have some sense. Have something to indicate that, like, the ground's a little different there, or, like, maybe the grass is a little greener there because it's, like, haunted or something. Like, I don't know, but anything other than just, well, if I was my grandmother that I've never met, it would go right there. Don't do that. That is insane. So then, they're right, they pull out this little fucking thing, and it's just, so this book also has, it's sectioned, okay? And every section is one of the classic 5 stages of grief, okay? Which is, let me see if I could remember without looking. Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. Okay? I don't know for who. I don't know who's going through these phases. Because I'll tell you what, it's not fucking Louise or Mark. Could it be Pupkin? No, Pupkin's not even in the first section. But, okay, nothing spooky happens until 100 pages in. That's the other thing that got me, is that this book was so fucking slow. And then I hated every time something was happening. And I'm like, please, like, this should be focused on, like, family. And it's like it touches there, and then it doesn't go all the way. Or we get all this, like, information at the beginning of the book, and then it's not, like, evenly spread. So, like, the beginning of the book feels a little bit like it's supposed to be about generational trauma, and then it's not at the end. Balance it. But anyway, is there denial happening in the first section? No. Denial of what? Of her parents being dead? No, she accepts that fact. In fact, she immediately tells her 5-year-old daughter, who freaks out and, like, has a mental episode. Which is fair. 5-year-olds learning about death is hard. You have to do it, but, like, it's not easy. Anger. Is there anger in the anger section? Yes. That is the section where Mark and Louise fight the most. They are angry. But it's also, notably, a denial section, because Louise is shown for the first time to be actively denying her childhood. That there were puppets that spoke to her, that her stuffed animals spoke to her sometimes. So, what is it? Where are you gonna put that? Bargaining? Is there bargaining in the bargaining section? The closest thing we have to bargaining is Mark going, yeah, I'll put this puppet on if you don't kill my sister. One section does not a whole theme make. One instance of something does not a theme make. What are you talking about? Depression? Nobody's depressed in the depression section. Nobody's depressed. Mark is a little depressed at the beginning, but that's because his arm just got sawed off. Most people would be a little depressed. No one else is depressed, and it's such a big section. It's like 100 pages for this whole section. And there's only depression in the first 2 chapters. Is Pupkin a little depressed? Sure, he's just learning that Nancy is dead and he doesn't know what to do with himself. But now he's going through the stages of grief himself. Because he starts by denying it, and then he gets angry, and then he goes into bargaining, and then he goes back into being angry. Who are these themes supposed to be for? If you're going to section a book into themes, if you're going to say, like, yeah, this section is the denial section, and this section is the bargaining section, make it thematic, or take them out. They don't add anything to the book. If anything, they just pissed me off, because I was sitting there reading and going, this has nothing to do with depression. Why is this part of this? Why am I reading this in the depression section? Another thing that we're going to talk about real quick is that within the first 3 or 4 chapters, I had to read the word invalid again, and I immediately got a bad taste in my mouth, and I went, Kennedy, maybe it'll be fine. And was it that ableist? No. Does Louise later think that Mark's probably going to have to get a new job because there isn't a lot of demand for one-armed bartenders? Don't fucking say that. Amputees can bartend. Usually, I love making like a big angry rant video, but like this book is so full of nothing, but it thinks it has so much that like I don't even know what to fucking bitch about because it just was boring. What we are gonna do is they decided it'd be a good idea to add questions for discussion into the end of this book. Now, there are a couple of things in the end here that are kind of like appendices that I can't be fucked to read. You want me to read a fake academic paper on demonic possessions and the history of the fear of puppets? No. I'm not reading that. I'm going to say that having questions for discussion isn't inherently a bad thing. When your questions are pretentious, it is. Okay, but if you have like a couple questions in the back of your book to like stimulate like a book club meeting or something, fine. Here are our questions. Louise can be impatient with other people, quick to jump on their faults, and slow to identify her own. Do you feel this makes her less relatable or more? Is she a classic oldest child, or is that just her excuse? No, she's not relatable. She's a raging bitch. And I didn't want to read about her. I went, oh, she's a hypocrite bitch. I don't like her. There's nothing I hate more in this world than a hypocrite. Is this classic oldest child? No. Most oldest children take on like a protective role over their younger siblings. And Louise kind of does the exact opposite. She can straight fuck herself. I don't like Louise. How does Louise and Marx's relationship evolve over the course of the novel? How do their perceptions of each other change? How does it evolve like this? Sometimes they get better and sometimes they go back to where they were. Much of the book focuses on how dealing with the possessions people leave behind is not just a physical process, but an emotional one too. How does going through their parents' things and dealing with the memories they bring back affect Louise and Mark? They both don't want to do it because it's sad, it's hard. I get it. That I get. Is that part of the book? Barely. That's like 3 chapters. Mark says our whole family functions on secrets. How do the family stories we choose to tell and those we choose to keep secret shape our lives? Shut the fuck up. That is the most neurotypical question I've ever been asked. Puppets and dolls are children's toys, but they can also terrify people. How does this doll explore what makes them scary? How does this book explore what makes them scary? What did you find most frightening in the book, the puppets or the dolls? Is there any difference? I'm gonna let you in on a secret. They're not. Okay, sometimes they can be a little freaky. That's Uncanny Valley. Without seeing it, it's not scary. In fact, it was incredibly stupid. And when the puppet golem came out, I literally rolled my eyes and went, there was no build-up for this. There was no discussion about the other puppets doing anything before this point. They were just in a room. How does Mark's fear about what happened to him during college govern his life? How will the events of the book change the way he lives going forward, if at all? He's aware that his actions have consequences and that they're his own actions. Why do you think Nancy kept Pupkin? Do you think she understood the danger he possessed to her children? Do you think even understanding the danger would have made her give up on her link to her brother? Did you see the twist about Freddy coming? Yes, I saw the twist about Freddy coming, you. Why would you ask me that question? You want me to sit here and tell you that I figured it out a third of the way into your book? Not even. This book is what? 400? Less than a third of the way into your book? You want me to tell you that? I'll tell you that. I figured it out so fast because you brought it up too many times. Do you think she understood the danger he posed to her children? She should have. Haunted house novels and movies often revolve around family issues. Do you think that's the case here? It should have been, but it wasn't. The last thing I want to leave you on is that there is one scene that takes place inside of a Waffle House. And that makes me want to talk about the Waffle House flagging system. Because I want to tell you exactly how their food would have been flagged in the markup system. Okay, so we have to go past Pizza Chinese. Welcome to Waffle House. How did I turn it to the exact page? That was crazy. Okay, I don't know what the fucking American omelet is. Oh, an American cheese omelet. Okay, so that is a horizontal jelly pack. So they would put a horizontal jelly packet on the 1, 2, 3, 4 section, and they would put 2 pieces of cheese behind it. Whole wheat toast, they would literally put a piece of toast on there also, and then to put hash browns, they would sprinkle a little bit of hash browns on top. Steak and eggs. He also doesn't describe what kind of eggs. He just says steak and eggs. Or what kind of steak it is. So it's a buttercup, either upright or upside down, placed halfway on the plate. The eggs will be indicated by a jelly packet in one of the not horizontal, vertical, in one of the 4 spots to denote how they are. This is because apparently a lot of people at Waffle House can't read. I feel like it would be easier to teach them to read than it would be to get them to learn all of this, because this is insane. So that's Waffle House Sigilmancy, and that's where I want to end this review, because that's the best part of this entire thing, is that I got to talk about Waffle House Sigilmancy. This book sucked ass, and I'm never reading a Grady Hendrix book ever again. You bird me once, you're done. He's basically like, I was gonna say the Stephen King of horror. I hate Stephen King. Anyway, bye. If you want to hang out with me while I read a good book, I'm reading one over on Twitch right now. I'm supposed to be reading Wednesdays and Sundays, but the last 2 Sundays I did not show up because I've been feeling like dog shit. So, but yeah, Wednesday seemed to be a good day. Okay, bye.